Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to another Premier Draft of Bloomburrow. Without further ado, let's just slam dunk our mythic rare, shall we? The infamous Cruel Claw's a super fun one. Very aggressive card, a 3-mana 3/3 with Menace, and if we manage to deal damage to our opponent with them, we get to exile cards from the top until we exile non-land, and we can cast it for free by discarding a card. Pretty absurd card. You get to see what you exile before you choose whether or not you want to discard something also. So if you hit something pretty small, you don't even have to discard for it. Cruel Claw is just exceptional, and it's a huge reason to try very hard to be in Rakdos in this draft. For pick 2, we now have nothing great in Rakdos. I do like Blacksmith's Talents, definitely a card that is at its best in a deck with a lot of Valiant cards, cards that care about getting targeted, because then you can move that equipment around for 0 mana and target those cards once per turn with the level 2 of the talents. Obviously, this wins the late game because you can turn all your equipment into double strike things as well. So it could still be good in Rakdos here, but probably not supposed to stay super tied here to the point of taking a bit of a weaker card than just taking like Intrepid Rabbit here, one of the best white commons in the set. Alternatively, some really good signpost uncommons here for their respective strategies as well. I think all three of these cards are a bit better than Blacksmith's Talents. Are they enough better to take them, even though they won't go into a Cruel Claw deck? Yeah, on the off chance we get pushed off Cruel Claw, we get to have a great start towards a white deck with Intrepid Rabbit. Pack 1, pick 3, Rabid Gnaw is an excellent red removal spell that also triggers all of our Valiant cards. And there are some red creatures with Valiant. If you need a ton of them in your deck, you really need to be red-white, so that you're overlapping for both of those colors. But Rabid Gnaw, great removal even without the Valiant stuff, so we will just take that. Pick number 4, Flame Cash Gecko, is incredible. It's very solid for any red deck. You hit your opponent and you get all the mana you spent on this right back out of it. At 15% off, you also get black mana out of this card if you're in Rakdos specifically. It's also potentially fixing you. Like if you have an opening hand of like 3 mountains and another 2-drop other than the Gecko, and you have a black spell in your hand, you can hit your opponent with your other 2-drop, play your Gecko, get the black mana out of it to cast something like Cruel Claw. So the fixing is sometimes relevant as well, but even just a 2-mana 2/2 that gives you 2 mana back is already good. So big fan of Gecko to where I'll take it over solid removal like Take Out the Trash. Pick 5. The best card in this pack is probably Honored Dray Leader, but that's good in exactly green-black swirls and nothing else, and we're very far from that. The Agate Blade Assassin and the Scales of Shade are both very solid for Black-Red Lizards, which is our most likely strategy, as that'll let us play the infamous Cruel Claw here. So I like taking one of these. I feel like the Scales of Shade is really efficient for a Lizards deck, and it's trying to be one of the most aggressive decks that's curving out super cheap, so having the really cheap combat trick is kind of a huge card for the strategy, whereas the 2-mana Lizards are a little replaceable. So I'm going to grab the Scales of Shade there over the 2-drop Lizard. Pick 6. Not the most exciting pack here. We probably go for the Brambleguard Captain. Just a way to get some extra damage in and trigger Valiant over and over. Pick number 7. Reptilian Recruiter is kind of sweet in Rakdos Lizards, because then you get to steal any creature your opponent controls when this hits the board. So you hit them with their biggest card, and you're still playing a 4/2 Trampler in the same turn. Not great outside of a Lizards deck, but if you're in Lizards, I think the card's pretty good. Probably even a bit better than Glide Dive Duo, which is the more consistently good card. I just think Recruiter's going to be great here. Pick number 8. Very happy to see a pick 8 Saver. That's a good sign for black remaining somewhat open here. Pick number 9. We do get a copy of the Glide Dive Duo, which is a Lizard, if that matters. And it's just a great evasive threat that chips in for some damage no matter what. Grab a Might of the Meek here. Pick 11, get the Menacing Lizard. It's a good way to guarantee we poke our opponent for 1 damage on turn 2, so that our cards like Flame Cash Gecko definitely trigger. Pick 12. Speaking of cards like Flame Cash Gecko, we have the Spark Shooter and the Cutthroat that both really want us to have dealt damage to our opponent. I'll take the 3-drop just because we have a lot more room for 3 mana spells than 4 mana spells. 4 is starting to get pretty high on the curve. Very solid start here. I think this will actually be our first Lizards deck. So that'll be nice. Wow, open up the strongest black rare or mythic in the whole format. Strongest black card in the format, period. Season of Loss. It's a selective board wipe. You get to choose exactly how big it needs to be, and you get to draw cards when you cast it, or sometimes you top deck and just kill your opponent with the 3-paw ability. It's a flexible, powerful board wipe, and it's an incredible card. Another incredible card, Vren the Relentless. Card is super ridiculous. It's hard to kill because of the Ward 2 and 4 toughness up front, and if it sticks around anytime any of your opponent's creatures are dying, you're spitting out rats that are at minimum 2/2s. If 2 of your opponent's creatures die, you now have 2 3/3 rats at minimum. It's really, really busted, but Season of Loss is arguably a little bit more busted than Vren, and we don't have to splash for it. So let's grab the Season of Loss here. Pack 2, pick 2. So we're on Savor, Rabidnaw, Season of Loss for interaction. We could take out the trash here, or we can go ahead and grab our next 2-drop creature, which is Coruscation Mage, which is a good way to make sure that we're dealing a damage to our opponent without even having to get attacks in to trigger cards like Centering Cutthroat potentially. Another copy of Scales of Shale would also be reasonable, but with the amount of non-creature spells I have right now, I don't think I want to take that particularly highly at this point. I think I'll take the Coruscation Mage here again, because we're doing pretty great on the non-creature and removal spell suite here. Pick 3, a very filler 2-drop just to fill up that 2-mana curve, a filler 3-drop, a filler 4-drop. It's all exactly fine. I'm going to take the Raccoon Rallier here. We're going to need more filler 2-drops than anything else, or just more 2-drops in general than anything else, and it potentially curves into a surprising Haste Cruel Claw, one of the best ways to guarantee you connect with it. Because if you play it when it's summoning sick, there's so much token production in the formats, and everybody's playing a pretty creature-heavy deck, that your opponent will see it coming and be like, alright, we're going to hold up a lot of blockers, make sure that Menace doesn't get in. It's somewhat easy to prevent your opponent from hitting you with the Cruel Claw in this set. Another Scales of Shale here, although our Lizard count is not doing incredible for it. Dire Sight for some card draw. Could be nice to dig for the bombs of Cruel Claw and Season of Loss. Could splash in another bomb with Ral, but we already have 2. And we have 0 fixing, and the fixing this set is really bad. So I'd honestly just rather not. Also just take Teapot Slinger, get our filler 4-drop aggro card. I'll go with that. Pick 5. Rabidnaw or a second Raccoon Rallier would be cute. Go for the second Rabidnaw. Pick number 6. Valley Rally and Conduct Electricity are both pretty filler. I'll grab the Conduct Electricity. Pick 7, we find another Coruscation Mage. Fills out the 2-drop slot with something that can find some chip damage without attacking. I guess the worst part of this, though, is that we need a lot of mana up, right? Because we have to cast a non-creature spell and then still have the mana to play like the Cutthroat if we care about the damage being dealt to our opponent. Kindle Spark Duo is fine in this archetype, but I feel like Coruscation Mage is probably still better for the Offspring ability. Pick 8, Pathmaker's fine. Just loading up our deck with all the filler here. Here's the Assassin. And wow, pick 10, take out the trash. I will happily take the trash and put it right in my deck. So we're going to have basically a full deck moving into pack 3. In pack 3, we can just focus up on replacing our filler cards with just more powerful spells. could be a great spot to be. So a couple filler non-creature spells here with Might of the Meek. Conduct Electricity we'd like to drop out of here. For the filler creatures, maybe a Pathmaker, something at 4 mana like this is all a little awkward. Get the other Slinger to wheel too. Yeah, definitely. Want to remove a 4-drop for another like 3 mana spell to work on the curve here. Maybe improve the 2-drops a little bit. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Be pretty happy with whatever we get now. Get another Scales. I think I'll take another Scales here to drop Might of the Meek for that. 6 lizards. But we've got one whole pack to just draft every lizard we see now. Swap out plenty of non-creature cards. Or non-lizard cards. This is a 14 creature deck right now, though. Now it's 15. I want to be on at least 15 creatures here, so I'm just going to drop Conduct Electricity right now for another Flamecash Gecko. That'll be, we're a 16 creature deck. Pretty perfect for aggro, somewhere between the 15 and 17 range is where you want to be. So let's grab a second Flamecash Gecko, and now we can just cut creatures 1 for creatures, and spells 1 for spells. Keep it simple and have our deck fully built as soon as the draft is over. So we take a Nocturnal Hunger, and we get to take out one of our smaller removal spells for something that can kill any sized creature. So we did not actually end up with any Valiant cards in the deck at all, so I think it's going to be cutting one copy of Rabid Gnaw here, as this is a little more situational removal. You have to have a creature on board, and your opponent needs to not be able to kill it in response with their own instant. You can get 1 extra damage out of it, but I'm going to take the Nocturnal Hunger here over a Rabid Gnaw. Now the Steam Path Charger is actually really nice for the Lizard deck. Fills out the curve really well, being a 2 or 4 drop depending on when you draw it. And again, looking at the makeup of our deck, we already have really good non-creature spells. I don't need to slam another Scales of Shale or a Playful Shove in here. And I definitely prefer the Charger over like a Pathmaker or something. So we take Charger, put it at the 4-drop slot on the curve, much like the Coruscation Mage, where it fits in either way. And we drop a non-lizard 4-drop. Probably the Brambleguard Captain, I guess, with no Valiant. So, pick 4 now. Again, some mediocre non-creature spells. Not that interested in them. So we can take a Heartfire Hero or a Starlit Soothsayer. These are both really filler. We have almost no life gain or life loss. We have almost no Valiant. I think we've got a little more Valiant, especially if I put the that mouse back in over like a Pathmaker here. But we have like the Rabid Gnaw and the double Scales of Shale, and now I could put the other Rabid Gnaw back in over a Take Out the Trash or a Saver, just to make Heartfire Hero a bit better. I do like the idea of having another 1-drop creature to curve out with. So I'll drop the Pathmaker there. I don't think I'm playing Soothsayer or Kindle Spark Duo, but Kindle Spark Duo is more likely. So I want to put this Rabid Gnaw back in. I cut a Saver for it. I'm not going to play any of this stuff. Yep, I'm just not going to. I'll grab the Soothsayer, though. Flying option. Okay. Another lizard. What's our lizard count at? 9? 9 lizards is probably enough for the recruiter, and that's the only thing that really cares about lizards. Although I'm kind of wanting to cut these 3-mana duos. But it would just be for another 3-mana duo. So I don't think I'm cutting one for another 4-drop. Definitely not putting the 5-mana removal in. I'm not putting another Kindle Spark Duo. Or another Daggerfang Duo. I guess I like the Kindle Spark better than the Daggerfang. Nothing to play here. Start holding down the Alt key and drafting whatever I don't have a play set of yet. It looks like I am going to have to do a tiny bit of deck building in the end because I decided to put some of these Valiant cards back in here. So I'm going to need to figure out exactly how I want to do that. Or I could also just drop the Heartfire Hero and not worry about it. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be just a simple case of like dropping a Slinger or a Spark Shooter for the Brambleguard Captain. And Sazakap's Brew is another Valiant card. We do have to give them a fish to do that though, so probably not quite worth it. Could cut a couple 4-drops, go for like a 16 land build here. So put the Captain back in. Put the Saver back in and see what we can do about our mana curve. Yeah, Might of the Meek is cute with Heartfire Hero, but our non-creature spells are very good already. And I don't have much more room there. 19 cards, so if I cut a land, I just need to cut 3 more. Cut a couple 4-drops makes sense. We're not expending that much if I'm lowering the mana curve. Not expending 4 that much, I should say. Although, no, I actually can expend 4 really consistently. Hold on. Actually, probably still better than the Spark Shooter, even though they're not lizards. So they hit for 1 less damage. They're 3 4s with Menace instead of 4 4s with Menace. But I have 2 Coruscation Mages and a Steam Path Charger upping the 4-drop count. And if I play 2 2-drops in 1 turn, stuff like that, we're actually kind of good at expending 4. So I'm just going to drop the Spark Shooter instead. And then I don't need to be pinging as much to get things going. Yeah, this is a lot of 4s at that point. Which actually kind of begs for the 17th land to go back in as well, because we can spend 4 on all these cards. $16 creatures, 8 non-creatures here. Recut the Saver. 10 black cards, 16 red, and I'm really trying to hit double black for Season of Loss, though. So I actually want to cut a red spell over a black spell, because I want to leave this closer to 50-50, so I want to try to get the black to red spell ratio to be a little closer to 50-50, because we have such an important double black card here. So I'm going to, take out the trash over cutting Saver. They're pretty comparable, honestly. Obviously, take out the trash can hit slightly bigger creatures. Maybe discards a card, draws a card. We've got like 3 raccoons in the deck. But the main thing take out the trash has going for it is killing slightly bigger creatures. But Saver, the life gain from the food token can matter and can win a race in an aggressive mirror. It's also easier to use as a combat trick because it can actually save your creature from trading down. Whereas the take out the trash is just like, you can use it as extra damage post-combat to finish something off, but you can't make something small enough to not kill your creature anymore. Unless it had 3 or less toughness, in which case you could have just shot it pre-combat. So yeah, Saver has its own benefits, take out the trash has its own benefits. They're comparable enough. I'm going to put another black card in towards a more close to 50-50 ratio. But I am going to go for a 9th mountain over a 9th swamp, because we are still definitely more heavy towards red. And yeah, looks pretty good when you consider that our 2s and 4s are both massive stacks, because these are flexible cards we can play at either spot of the curve. So, very fun little deck here. Super excited to see how it does. So without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay. Alright, here we are on the play for game 1. The geckos are very cool, but it's kind of sad that we don't have a different creature to hit our opponent with, which is gecko together. In fact, I don't know if I'm even doing anything with the Gecko mana. I don't even want to discard a card to draw a card when I'm trying to have 5 lands towards the Season of Loss. Scales of Shale. I actually awkwardly have to just pre-combat this Gecko so that I can cast Scales for only 1 mana, because if they declare the block here, I have to cast Scales, and if I cast Scales, I don't have the mana up to play the Gecko post-combat anyway, so... No mana from Flame Cash Gecko, it is what it is. Alright, just gonna use these to beat down, turn any lands into spells, hopefully, and then Season of Loss whenever they get too far ahead. Do I try to get them to play into the Season of Loss, or do I try to keep doing something here? I don't know, both the Geckos do kind of nothing at this point, so... My board state would basically be a single 3/4 menace. Let's just set up the Season of Loss here. Cash grab. So they're just setting up their own card draw rather than playing to the board. Makes Season worse for sure. Sweet, no attacks because we could double block with the Geckos. So now I've got an extra land. Gecko away 1. Find a Rabid Gnaw. Probably keep that. Season of Loss. Draw 2. Everybody sacks 3. And then drop Slinger and have a Rabid Gnaw with it. But we need our opponent to have a couple less cards in hand before we do that. Okay, if they play one more creature, we're going to pop the Season of Loss. If they don't, I kind of have to Rabid Gnaw the Bone Cache Overseer, if possible, to shut off that card draw engine. But they could have this mana up for their own instant speed removal to use in response to Rabid Gnaw, and that'd play real badly for me. That's not how I like Season of Loss to go. Okay, well now I have double Rabid Gnaw, so we're just gonna double up, right? Wish this were big enough to kill Veteran in response to the Polywallop. That would actually be like a legitimate blowout. But it's not going to be big enough. I'm do 3 to the Veteran before Polywallop resolves. There's the Cultivator. Forge the food. Season of Loss is only going to be a draw 1 at this point. Well, I hope Forage audio doesn't glitch out when our opponent forages. I know it does when we do. Okay, yeah, it's only when we do. If you forage on Arena, at least on my client, it plays that forage audio loop the rest of the game. Just for the rest of eternity. Okay, I kind of feel like I have to pop this at this point. Kill those 2, draw 1. 3 cards in hand to 3 cards in hand. Here we go. Taking like 7 damage next turn if I don't pop it here. Been a really awkward Season game. There's Dagger Fang Duo. Got a good play against that. And another Dagger Fang Duo. Alright. We're doing fine. Steam Path Charger actually really good against the Dagger Fang Duos. I'm gonna just roll out with that, because I'm definitely not blocking with Teapot Slinger here. So this gets to trade into a duo and leave behind a 1/1 for later. Oof. Corpseberry Cultivator's a nightmare, but we do have removal that can kill it. Our Nocturnal Hunger being the card we're looking for here. But that's going to be so big. So many cards in grave. Sure. Last card in hand is a combat trick. They are down to absolutely nothing now. If we can get our hand to trade into their board state. Then we can stabilize here. There's the 2/2 to trade into the Dagger Fang Duo. We can double block the Cultivator with a 3/4 and a 1/1 and just lose the 3/4. They hold off on the Cultivator till it's going to be too big to deal with. We're down to 10. Drop an Assassin and pass. Rather lose the biggest creature than lose both of the smaller ones. It's Brambleguard Veteran. That's a 3/3. Can stack into a reasonable block against the Veteran. And they are still top decking gas. Unfortunate. Cutthroat's real bad here. Guess it blocks Veteran, but Cultivator's lethal. Be a 6-power attacker. So I can't even make it big enough to block Veteran, because if I do, it just has to trump the Cultivator anyway. They can sack the food or exile 3 from grave, so I have to just cast it and pass. Alright, well, maybe we could have went full greed on the Season of Loss and just sat there doing nothing, but if our opponent just lets their first Cultivator that we Season of Lost away keep getting bigger and attacks us over and over, we still just die. So we were in a position where they had more than enough damage to force us into the Season of Loss without casting anything else. Our only bet here that might have changed the game is if we got really lucky and they chose to immediately play a bunch more creatures right after that. But if they just kept their current board, we were losing the game no matter what, so... R.I.P. This is a really good hand. Way better than our first hand. The awkward double gecko nonsense was pretty sad. But this is pretty wild. Bonebind Order. They don't have any good blocks for that. Yep, we just bounce with the assassin, but we still drain them for a life. Here's Steam Path Charger. If we have 4 Coruscation Mages on board, any of our, 7 non-creature spells as top decks are kind of nasty, kind of wild. Ew, 1/3 Death Touch. Speaking of kind of nasty, kind of wild. Death Touch is an issue. Can double buff the Raider, kill the Harbinger here. And that'd be worth it to get everybody else through. No blocks means we just play the Otter. Yeah, maybe this was a good Valley Rally deck. The 1 in a million. Since we got all the offspring by the end of the draft. Ooh, Builder's Talent does a lot with food token production. Easiest combo for that is the Saver. -2/-2, somebody make a food. For black-white, that's the easiest combo with it. They do need to level it up first to get the +1 counters. Oof. Rabid Gnaw. Really, with the Ruthless Negotiation in their grave, I really don't want to hold on to a card here, so I guess I'm just casting the Coruscation Mage and Rabid Gnawing right now, so that I don't get negotiated too hard. And we're obviously killing Harbingers so that we can attack with everybody here. Boom. They pretty much have to trade with Coruscation Mage here because it has such a good ability, so this one should get through or bounce off the 0-4. If it bounces off the 0-4, it means 1 more damage here from the Agate Blade Assassin. Well, they do take the free kill. That will be sad if I top deck a non-creature spell. Oh no. The life drain, gain 1 every turn now. Definitely helps out. Oh. Doesn't help out enough. We're 1-1 heading into game 3. Alright, here we are for game 3. No value, Flame Cash Gecko. Still prevents our mana flood in the late game. And obviously the big part of this keep is the Cruel Claw. We don't even have to worry about getting our 15% off here. Seasoned Warren Guard starts things from our opponents. Jolly Gerbils. So they can try to double block Cruel Claw, but I have 2 different removal spells I might be able to cast here. If we top deck any land, we can double removal to clear a path and get the Menace hit in and just basically win if we can connect with Cruel Claw. That's the big thing about Cruel Claw is, like, it's just hard to break through in this format because every deck runs so many creatures and there's so much token production. But if you do break through and manage to hit your opponent, You're likely winning. Casting spells for free. We didn't hit the land. So they would have to block Cruel Claw with their entire board to kill it. At which point I could only kill 2 of the 3 creatures that they're blocking with. Yeah, I can't attack here. It's in Rabid Gnaw, so Cruel Claw is 4 power, but then it's 4 power against... It's still only going to have 3 toughness, so a 4-3 against a 2-3 and a 1-2 still dies, even if I gnaw the Sentinel there. So... I believe we slowly... chip away the board to try to get Cruel Claw in later. Like so. But we don't have actual attacks this turn. Sets up for a pretty good Brambleguard Captain with the Heartfire Hero too. Okay, there's the 4-4. Yeah, Cruel Claw's just not getting in. Ooh, maybe it is. I'm only gonna have the mana to cast 1 spell here again, sadly. Which means a 2 creature attack still feels kind of bad. Of Hero and Cruel Claw, then one of them is not going to get a favorable combat here. Kill the Rampager. Keep Cruel Claw around. Gain a bunch of life. Say, I don't think they have enough cards engraved to use that forge, and they do not. There's the land. Now I'm still only casting 1 spell this turn, though. I can Savor the Forager, or I just Brambleguard Captain up the Heartfire Hero. Three toughness hero, it just trades into Forager at this point. I think we're still holding on to it for a turn. Obviously, Cruel Claw still gets double blocked by Warren Guard and Jolly Gerbils. Okay. So they basically have to block Cruel Claw with the entire board to kill Cruel Claw, in which case Heartfire Hero is going to stick around and just shred their soul, so we send in here. If they have their own good trick, this is going to be rough. But they have to block Cruel Claw with Forager and Gerbils and Warren Guard to kill it. And they did not. It's just a chump on the Heartfire Hero, though? It's gotta be a trick from our opponent, right? Otherwise they block with the 1-3 as well. Move to damage and let them use their trick to kill the Heartfire Hero so we can use our trick to save Cruel Claw. Either way I do it, Cruel Claw kills both. It's probably better to just upfront kill the Warren Guard. Oh, is it double trick? It's an instant. Double trick. Yikes. Well. Oh, and the card draw from gerbils too. That's disgusting. Well, that goes great for our opponent. Yeah, they pretty much needed double trick there to win that. But now we're top decking, but we've got a gecko on board, and they do not. A couple slingers in a row is going to get some damage in for sure, especially 5 power menace swings. Solid draw here. 2/4 blocker plus draw a card. The 4 toughness is huge for letting them double block a 5 power slinger and still have us only kill one of their cards. So that's pretty annoying. And at top decks, Paw Patch Recruit, a bonkers rare. So any removal we draw into just buffs their whole board. Not their whole board. It puts 2 +1 +1 counters on their board. Since we drew into a flyer here, I am going to attack in and just kill this treetop sentries. Their best block being the 2/4 and the 2/3. I only get to kill one of them, but I want to kill the reach card enough to do that. Because then we're going to be playing a 5 power flyer. That kills them in 2 swings with Brambleguard Captain. Because we drain them for 2, then attack for 5 in the sky, then attack for 5 in the sky. And that is our route to victory here. Actually really gets there with the Teapot Slinger damage too. Actually, you know what? The Teapot Slinger damage is so big with them down to 8 now, I'm not even going to attack with it. Okay. If I expend 4, they're dead. This hand cannot expend 4. Though. They do also just die next turn. If they can't draw into a way to kill the duo, so. We'll see about that. Could have gambled on drawing a 4-drop since we have our 3 4-mana offspring cards still in the deck there, where we could discard the Cutthroat to draw cards so that I could go swamp, play a 4-drop. Alright, gift the food to draw a card. One last opportunity to kill a flyer. And they fail to find. We are 2-1, I think? Maybe just 1-1? Brain no work so good. Ooh, we got a mythic. Kitsa, Otterball Elite. Cool. We are indeed 2-1, heading into round number 4. Alright. Let's try to Cruel Claw it up. We're on the draw here, so that's going to be exceptionally difficult. The odds of them not being able to block a menace creature on their turn 4 is pretty astronomically low. Savor and Nocturnal Hunger could help though, so I'm going to hold off on the Coruscation Mage so I can savor a creature this turn and Nocturnal Hunger one the turn after I play Cruel Claw. That is the game plan here. Playing against green-white rabbits. No! Cruel Claw has been banished. R.I.P. Well, Coruscation Mage is very good here, so we have a fine follow-through. Or a fine follow-up. Glide Dive Duo first, then Recruiter is going to be really nice whenever we hit the 5th land. Head of the Homestead, also really nice. Snap Trade. While they're tapped out, in an archetype that has a lot of ways to buff their entire board. Happy to trade a 2-2 into a 3-2, even if it has a good ability. We did not hit the land. Which is actually very bad here, because it means our Cutthroat's not going to get +1/+1 counter, and we don't play any 5-drops. Basically anything we want to do would involve 5 mana. Even our 3-drop wants to play Rabid off first, so that the Mage gets a ping. Yeah, I'd rather hold on to Nocturnal Hunger for later, so let's just kill the Head of the Homestead and pass. I don't believe we have any reason in this whole deck to hold on to a food token, but let me double check. But I'm probably gonna just get that mana investment out of the way and get that life gain. Yeah, there's no reason to hold on to food in this deck. Woo! Seasoned Warren Guard's a 1-mana 3-2. Actually gonna be a 4-3 thanks to their village. This is gonna start playing really well. I think I just take the trade here, even though this has a good ability. Again, because these green-white rabbit decks have a lot of cards they can draw into. Particularly the 2-mana 2-2 that can give the whole board +1/+1. That would just be really bad for me. Teapot Slinger, one of our best non-land draws in the deck, but any land in the deck's still a better draw. Okay. Do I have to just keep taking trades here? They're down to 2 cards in hand and a 1/1 rabbit on board. But I'm at 19. Scales of Shale. Alright. Get our 4-3 Cutthroat and try to turn the race around. Cool. Some beefy menacey threats. That's the Warren Elder I've been talking about. +1/+1 to the whole board, so pretty happy with my early trades. However, we do have the hunger to just kill that anyway. I feel like this trade is not that bad, especially with Elder on board. Teapot Slinger is a worse trade, though. Cool. Glide Dive Duo into Recruiter for an outrace? That's definitely something. Slinger could end up just trading into Warren Elder here, which is fine if it gets its damage in first. I'm going full aggro here. We have a lot of surprise damage from that Recruiter, and the flying damage from Duo. Another expend from Slinger if they don't take the trade here, and if they do take the trade, they have just no gas on board. This feels good. Unless they had a trick, but they held on to it this long. Alright. It's still a fine trade. We are still winning the race. Pretty handedly thanks to Recruiter. Come on out, Trampler. Come on over, Warren Elder. You're on our side now. Oh, it's the stupid moose thing. It's been too long since I played against the stupid moose to remember to play around that card. Well, we can blow it up. And then thanks to Scales of Shale, we're probably still favored a tiny bit. That moose was a huge swing for our opponent, though. 10, 11, 12, 13. If they top deck the combat trick, they kill us on the spot if I don't trade Recruiter off, but the odds are quite low, and these blocks are really bad if they don't have a combat trick. I guess the Warren Elder block is not bad, because they can't double buff, they can just single buff. The only really bad block would be blocking the rabbit or chumping the moose. Yeah, sure. This way I don't die to a combat trick, but also the block isn't bad on board. Sure. Okay. Have yourself a food, my friend. I will slowly start gaining life with my assassin. If I played around the moose thing, this would handedly be a win here. It's been so long since I got moose. But we absolutely had the tool to play around it. We could have just held on to hunger. Oh, and I just get mythicked. 5 rabbits that are all 2/2s thanks to the village. God dang it. Okay, maybe we would have lost even playing around the moose if they followed up with that. Gross. I can't hold up Scales of Shale and play Teapot Slinger here. Block. If I have 3 creatures on board, I block 3 of the 5 2/2s, 2 connect for 2. I die. I literally take lethal if I play 2 creatures. Because they just attack all and we're dead. If I play 1 creature in Scales of Shale, I feel like I still die, right? Because Scales is only +2 power, so I gain 3 and I block 2 of them. So I'm at 8 life, but 3 get in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I go to 1 holding up Scales of Shale? And just die next turn. This game was definitely more winnable if we saw the moose coming, but we would have just had like an extra turn or 2 to try to turn things around. It wouldn't be like a guaranteed win, I think. I don't know, maybe it would be. Let's go to 1. Or they top deck rabbit response after that. Okay. Take back everything I said. That's a definite loss. Mythic rare 5/1/1s that turn into 2/2s thanks to village into +2/+1 to the whole board. Pretty unbeatable. And have a Splinter Twin Wombo combo there. And is going to crush our hopes and dreams. We are 2-2 heading into game 5. Alright, here we are for game 5. 50-50 mark here. 2-2. Fortunately, we're on the draw here, and they start with Stoat, which is just incredible. Pretty much the perfect draw here. We really need to kill the Stoat, or this is unraceable. We cannot attack into it. We can't block it anywhere. And it's just going to give us a really hard time. Gecko could lead to some really absurd turns where I go Gecko, Gecko, something else. If they attack with Stoat here and the mage can get in. But I'm also casting it before I have 4 mana for it, and that means Teapot Slinger has 1 less thing to expend with. But I'm casting it before Rabid Gnaw, which I definitely want to cast, so I can get the damage off the Rabid Gnaw. A lot of lines here, a lot of options. Nettle Guard's the play. Let's see if we can Gecko it out here. Looks like we can Gecko it out. This is going to be funny. Gecko. Gecko. Rabid Gnaw. An extra Gecko here. They probably have a Crumb and Get It. They do not have a Crumb and Get It. Let's go. There's a Carrot Cake. 1/1 blocker, scry 1. They get another 1/1 blocker when they sacrifice that for any reason. Double Teapot Slinger can produce a lot of damage. No more non-creature spells in the hand. We just send for damage. Sorry, Coruscation Mage, you're trading into a Nettle Guard. Time to throw some teapots right into our opponent's face. It's the Boston Tea Party all over again. That's what happened, right? They set the teapots aflame and threw them at the British. This is going to get countered, but we get to expend by casting this, and we don't by playing a Gateblade Assassin. Ooh, it's not. So, what is this going to be? 2-mana on Carrot Cake, 2-mana on some kind of removal or combat trick? Yep, so 2 on Sonar Strike, 2 on Carrot Cake, double block Gecko. Still about as good as the turn could go for us. Considering the cards they had access to. Couldn't have really done better there. Holding on to this, because if I draw another land, I can ditch it, draw a card, still play Assassin. Yep. If we don't find something better, we just play Assassin. But we look for something better. Scales of Shale is something better. Probably doesn't matter during combat, but might as well leave it up just in case they have like the +2 trick here. No, counter my lizard. Seed Pod Squire. Alright, now it definitely matters during combat, but we can send in super easy. See if we draw anything better again first. Just gonna discard this, so I could play a black lizard in scales. Okay, I can't double scales. No matter how they block here, it goes well for me, so we'll just wait and see. Alright. Is this the 3/4 Coyote as their removal to exile Teapot Slinger? Sure is. Gecko still attacks in. Scales makes us kill the Coyote and get the Slinger back. Saver works too. No blocks. Fair. Hold up a Saver, and if we don't need to use it, then we discard a Swamp, draw a card. Technically holding up Scales as well. I feel like Saver's more likely to matter, but we'll see. Pileated Provisioner. Ooh, make Coyote 5 toughness. I mean, Scales and Saver will not do it single-handedly anymore. Luckily, we have both. The issue is they just block with Provisioner now and force me to use one. But that's still going to be a fine turn. That's a draw. Oh, this stacks up awkward. This stacks up awkward, because we really would like to get the discount on the Scales of Shale here to where we can Steam Path Charger for 4 and still have the 1-mana Scales. But then if they block with Coyote, it's miserable. Because then I cast the scales and don't even kill the coyote. So I have to hold up both when I go to combat, which is going to mean I'm going to have to spend 2 mana to kill the provisioner, which means I won't have 4 mana to play the charger. So do I even attack then at that point? Or do I just offspring the charger and pass so that I have all that mana up in the future? To do 1 mana scales plus saver. Then I could also send with the whole team and spread them out where they're needed. Kind of think I have to just offspring pass. Could have Steam Path chargered without the offspring and still held up both of these. Plume Creed Mentor is incredible. This coyote is ridiculous, but I can still double trick it. Can't double trick it with the 1/1. They're gonna attack with Coyote instead of Provisioner here? That would make sense. I'm tapped out. I can't kill the Coyote on blocks, and they kind of don't want to put it at risk of any random tricks. So since it's not going to be blocking anyway, might as well send it in for 5. And then just hold the birds back on blocks. That might be what's going through their head here. I'd be pretty unhappy if that is the line. Because it would go well for them. They don't have a follow-up creature. That's an incredibly bold attack. But they're going to do it, it looks like. Trying to get a 2-turn lethal on me. Go for it. Hello. Thank you, Auto Tapper. Very cool. Let's tap me out of Scales of Shale. For no reason. I think I have to just make sure I win the race here by gaining like 6. They have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 power on board. Could chump Coyote to not die to a +2/+2 trick. No, I'm not going to Scales. Put them to 5, 4. Because Scales is now like if a 2-power creature connects, Scales randomly lethals them. I don't think they would attack all here if they don't have like a +2/+2 trick, so if they do declare an attack with everybody, I'm going to have to block with Captain. Like if they didn't have a way to turn this into 11 damage on board. Five, 6, 7, 8. They need +3/+3, but the combat tricks in the format are +2/+2. They could have Mabel's Medal, the uncommon, for +2/+2 to one of them and +1/+1 to the other. Still can try pretty hard to crack back for lethal. Because I'll have 3 creatures on board and a saver. No Scales anymore. That was a pretty fast move to combat there. As if they did not have a trick. Take 3. the cheaty face moves from playing on Arena. Okay, Night Fisher, gain 1 life. They're at 5. I am pretty sure we can find lethal here somehow. So I savor the duo so they have a single blocker. Buff that to 3 power. Block. Yeah, I don't even need the scales to kill them here. They die, whatever. They block one of these and take 5 on any of the 3 blocks that they have available. Alright, die to the triggered ability is what they have chosen. Nope. Die to concession? Die to triggered ability it is. And that is 3 and 2 after a very, very close game. Alright, here we are on the play for game 6. Potentially pretty good. We're on the play with Cruel Claw. That makes it harder for them to stop it from hitting them, especially with the Rabid Gnaw alongside it. Very happy with the hand. Howdy. I think I bought those emotes, but I didn't put everything on. I'll give them the confused. We ain't in Outlaws of Thunder Junction anymore. This here's Bloomburrow. Well, that's a scary start, but so is Cruel Claw. Hello. I should have had all my mana up when I went for this combat, because now they could combat trick me, but they are not going to. Yeah, we should have attacked holding up Rabid Gnaw and then played Cruel Claw. Incorrect. Play was incorrect. So now they have to do the +2/+2 trick in response to our Rabid Gnaw. I could just Brambleguard Captain attack with Assassin, force them to use a trick here. Pretty mana efficient. Yeah, we actually have a lot of threats without even trying to do Cruel Claw nonsense. Although, sack Cruel Claw to deal 4 is also a viable use of Cruel Claw. But if it's Crumb and Get It, they give Indestructible to whatever I put in front, so they just lose a single Crumb and Get It. Yeah, I'm just going to send an Assassin. Cool. Looks good to me. And they're over it. Maybe it was nothing the whole time. They're just done. They said howdy. And then they left. Shoot, that was the perfect opportunity to finally equip emotes. Go look through everything I have. And I completely forgot. Assassin first, probably. It's the most likely to be able to declare an attack and get its damage in, thanks to its 3 toughness. Most likely to trigger the Gecko and let me double spell on turn 3. This land reminds me of like the Resident Evil 4 castle. It's very pretty. Even though it's in definitely a completely different part of the world. Oh, there's a Cruel Claw. I guess I could Raccoon Rallier instead, but I already hovered the Assassin out there. I probably should have rallied. That was the whole reason we put the Rallier in the deck. Turn 3 Hasty Cruel Claw's a thing, potentially. But, on the upside, we get to play Gecko and Cruel Claw this way. So it was either one Hasty Cruel Claw or a wide board this turn, and either's pretty good. I do think rallying out the Cruel Claw would have been a little better, though. So opponent definitely needs their mana from the Root Weaver. If they did not block Assassin there, they didn't want to put it at risk of a Saver or something. They surveilled away a Sun Shower Druid with their Hidden Grotto. They're facing quite the board state here, so we'll see what they've got. Another Root Weaver for the double block on Cruel Claw, but those aren't big enough to actually kill Cruel Claw without an additional spell. So I will just send everything in. They could double block and kill the Gecko for free, but that would mean letting Cruel Claw hit them. So I think it's worth an all attack with the information we have right now. They do likely have some kind of spell with all this thinking. There it is, Longstalk Brawl. Okay, so now they do have really good double blocks for the Cruel Claw. And now we just don't have any good attacks. Alright. Great work from Longstalk Brawl there. They had 0 hourglasses. How did it go back up? Oh, they switched phases. Right when it was at the end. Alright, Coruscation Mage. Well, if I can't get any viable attacks in, might as well dump all my mana into this thing. Pretty fine. Could play the Rallier instead so I can try to haste out the duo if I top deck a land, but there's no confirmation our draw next turn is going to be a land. This is an infinitely better play if we hit a 2-drop. I can play a Rallier and a 2-drop next turn, especially if it's a 2-drop spell, like Saver, or Rabid Gnaw, or any of those cards. Sky Skipper Duo, untap Root Weaver. Yep, now the Glide Dive Duo isn't even that exciting. Do hit land 5 for Glide Dive Duo, so could have had the haste swing, but they found the flyer anyway, so it wouldn't have been that good of a swing. Just a trade. Dream Dew Entrancer, great card. They're going to choose to keep the Root Weaver locked down to draw a couple extra cards, and then the Mist Breath Elder to pick up the Root Weaver anyway. And now the Frog Wombo combos hit us pretty hard, but Scales of Shale is basically the perfect draw. We just attack all, let some creatures die here to get the best Scales of Shale spot we can, because if we let them sit here and grind it out, the frogs absolutely win the long games with Mist Breath Elder, Dream Dew, and Transfer style combos, picking up and re-upping incredible enter the battlefield effects over and over and over again. So I can kill the Mist Breath Elder or the Dream Dew Entrancer, saving a 1/1 mage or Cruel Claw. I think we need to kill the Entrancer here. Not only does it combo with Mist Breath Elder really well, but it also gives them a 4 toughness blocker for our flyer. So something that doesn't even die there. Plus I'm keeping a menace card on board doing it this way. Uh-oh. What do they got for 2 mana here? Run away together? We wouldn't be astronomically bad. Pick up their tapped Root Weaver and our Cruel Claw. Okay. They go down to 8. Definitely lost a lot of creatures there. But again, if we just sit past turn every turn, they get very far ahead very quickly. With Mist Breath Elder and Dreamdew Entrancer. So we broke that little combo off the board, but there's still plenty other stuff they can do with the Mist Breath Elder. Finch Formation. A new Coruscation Mage if I find more non-creature spells. Yeah, our attacks suck, unless I really want to trade a 3/3 flyer for a 3/3 flyer, so Coruscation Mage pass. They can just pick up the Finch Formation and keep getting Offspring out of it every turn now. So their worst draw every turn is just another 1/1 flyer. Oh. And then green's Mythic Uncommon. Hunter's Talent that is perfect at winning board stalls like this. Removal spell into give somebody trample every turn into draw an extra card every turn. So they're going to be drawing 2 cards a turn, setting in with gigantic trample nonsense. It's pretty over. We don't have a Gecko on board, so we just pass. Yeah, unless somehow things go astronomically slowly for our opponent and we top deck like 2 Teapot Slingers in a row here. I don't think we're getting anywhere. Rabid Gnaw is 1 turn too late to actually kill the Mist Breath Elder. Because it's 5 toughness now. I guess if they block with anything, we can use it to finish off. Oh, we're again so losing the long game unless I hit exactly Teapot, and then some 4-drops. So, do I just attack all and see if we can get any Rabid Gnaw action? Sure, this isn't a competitive event, just a random Premier Draft. Let's just flunge. Rather end the game quickly at this point and go 4-3 than pray for 10 turns and die anyway. Which is what's going to happen 9 out of 10 times. There's the 1 out of 10 where we sit here and pray for 10 turns and maybe get Teapot Slinger nonsense. But I'm cool with ending the draft here. Will we find a Rabid Gnaw line, or can we scoop them up? Kill both. Root Weavers. Oh. Okay, I'll redo everything in my brain in a second. Never mind. Undid it and redid it. Okay. We can kill both Root Weavers, kill the Sky Skipper duo, and they're down to just a Mist Breath Elder and a Finch formation. They have to pick up the Finch formation, recast it next turn. Yeah, this is potential action. Couple turns of swings. There's nowhere else I can do this, right? I could use it on the Glide Dive duo onto the 2/4, but this is the same difference. Okay, they could have a 3-mana instant here. If they have pretty much anything we lose, we get to move on. Shore up. Well, yeah. Then every draw in our deck is super bad, except the Teapot Slingers. Alright, well, they kept me with the Assassin. Things looked pretty cool for a second there. Then there was the shore up. Which I guess, I mean, they've drawn so many cards. An extra 2 from Entrancer, an extra 1 from Talent. So we're done like 3 attacks. Sped things up quite a bit with that. Do they have another creature in hand, or do I get to get Assassin in? Oh my god, I get Assassin in? Oh, whoa! Show me another shore up or die. No, they have an instant. I could steal the flyer. That's lethal a different way. Well, I guess we get to see what their instant is. It's the moose! Oh my god, they misclicked! They misclicked the moose! Post blocks! The perks of playing digital Magic, baby. Free win. Never would have won that game in paper. Because they just cast the moose and declared it as a blocker. But on Arena, they clicked one too many times. It was too late to declare it as a blocker. My god. That frog deck was great, and it was popping off. I don't think we deserved to win that game at all, but sometimes you just luck out and get there. And that puts us in the money at 5-2 now, heading into round number 8. All right, round 8, we've got Raider into Gecko, spit out the Raccoon Rallier, saving the Coruscation Mage for when we have... Oh, I don't have Raider. I do have Raider. See, I knew Arena had our backs. Uh-oh. They've got the 1-mana 2/3. Oh, no. At least they hit a tap land here, so they don't immediately make it a literal 2/3. But it pings us every time it attacks. And then it gets bigger. That's pretty horrifying. Gecko plus Rallier. I can double block the Claw. And its trick only makes it a 2/3. So, oh, fancy Gev. Try to Scales a Shale to kill that thing, and if they don't do any blocks, then we just play a Cutthroat. Okay, play a Cutthroat and try to outrace Gev, it is. So every creature they play comes with a +1/+1 counter now and pings me for 1. Every lizard they play pings me for 1. Every creature comes with a counter if they've dealt damage to me. They just take out the trash, and we're racing. Scales of Shale's incredible in a race, so I'm feeling pretty confident right now. Is Brambleguard Captain more damage than Coruscation Mage? An extra 2 damage immediately. Mage is an extra 2 damage when I cast the scales. I guess I'll go for an immediate extra 2 damage. And then, if I top deck a land, I can mage plus scales later. I don't know why I just say top deck instead of draw so often. I should just say if I draw a land, I can do that. Top deck is faster than saying draw off the top. But you don't really need to specify. If I'm drawing a card, it's because I'm drawing the top card of my deck. Alright, lots of blockers to try to survive here, and we did not hit the mana. It's a mage plus scales, which is sad. But I can still scales. Albeit quite likely not for lethal. Wow, yeah, Gev made that a 1 mana 2/2 and a 2 mana 2/4. Card is nasty. Might have been an argument for pre-combat scales on Captain, making the Raider 5 power. They only have one good blocker, which is the 2/4. Everything else is a trade at best, so I'm pretty sure we're still supposed to send the whole team in. Either way, but maybe it's supposed to be scales first, then send the whole team in. Cards all on the table. Okay, we're killing Gev no matter what. Would I rather keep my Brambleguard Captain or kill more of their creatures? I think I'd rather kill more of their creatures at this point. Kill Gev and the Assassin. So they have a single creature on board against 3, actually 4 attackers, thanks to the Gecko mana. One of which is Menace. We definitely just slammed down the Mage without Offspring when our opponent's down to 4. No, another 2 blocker card off the 1 spell. Double buff on Raiders something. Block, 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 take 3. They're small blockers. They may have gotten 2 blockers off 1 spell, but they're small. They have to double block to kill anything. And double blocking means a lot of damage. Yeah, this is like their only way they even live. And they go to 1 off of it. They need a board wipe. And they don't have one. They go out on their own terms with their Nocturnal Hunger. So the Lizard Mirror match paired against the stronger Lizard deck, I would say. Looking at what they had there, that was a very well built, very powerful Lizards deck. Triple Lizard rare, really. Hired Claw and Gev and Iridescent Vinelasher. And all 3 of these play incredibly well together. They also had premium removal with Nocturnal Hunger take out the trash. This is an excellent deck from our opponent. We just got quite lucky with how mana screwed they were that game. Just stuck on 3 the whole time. They even had to play like a tap land turn 2. Alright, yeah, lizard mirror match. We were the weaker lizard, but we had the better draws, and we are 6-2, very far in the money. In fact, heading all the way into the final boss of this draft. And here we are for that final battle. I can go all in on Season of Loss, but that's actually one of the only 2 games I lost was going all in on Season of Loss. So it might be a bad idea, but you know what? Let's see if Season of Loss can get its justification here. We can win a game off of it this time. We'll see. I am going to be stuck off of 1 color of mana, so it's not even going to be that suspicious that I'm not playing any creatures here, because it's just like, well, they're stuck off of a color. Although if our opponent, I was going to say, if our opponent's also stuck off a color, then they also have a really good excuse to not play into the board wipe. Okay, beautiful. We have found the mana. Do I want to play any of these creatures anyway? Not really. Just hold up Nocturnal. I guess I can play Heartfire Hero into Brambleguard Captain. If it looks like Season of Loss is not going to be a thing. And even if Season of Loss is a thing, at least the Heartfire Hero pings our opponent, and by having some creatures on board, we get to draw some cards off of it. It's like it just gives us the cards right back. Ooh, we're going to need to do sack 3 for the Season of Loss. Yep. And that's the biggest it can get while still drawing us a card. Oh my god. 7 damage? Lord Almighty. And the host is triggered and drawn them an extra card. To chump here. They have another Intrepid Rabbit. This is just Magic Christmas Land. We lose on the spot. But I'm on Nocturnal Hunger now. If they try to draw another card off of host, but if they don't, oh my god. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's exactly Season of Loss numbers, even if I kill the host. So we kill the host. And then Season of Loss all 5 of their creatures. And then Cruel Claw Rabidnaw. Tempo when you have to 5-paw it. Okay, 3 cards left. One of them's a Shrike Force, not bad for me at all. Moonrise Cleric, also not bad. Very chill with this right now. Hopefully no removal for Cruel Claw, though. Out of the final card in hand in their top deck for the turn. Intrepid Rabbit Shrike Force is gross. Alright. Well, I'm glad I gave them the food, because I'm going to need every bit of life. This is so much damage. Oh, it's the Shrike Force is Vigilance as well, so Cruel Claw's just not getting in. At least that's all their cards. There's a Coruscation Mage, but I'm too stuck on red mana to do more than 1 spell here. I can Rabidnaw and not attack with Cruel Claw. Or I can Brambleguard Captain, make Cruel Claw 5 power, in which case it still just dies to Intrepid Rabbit and the Rabbit's token. Suppose I'm just on Rabidnaw for the turn. Definitely getting punished for the lack of red. If I could cast 2 of these spells, this would be a pretty excellent turn. But if I can only cast 1, we're just dying too quickly. Yep, great attack from our opponent. Go to 1 life? If I let it all through? Letting it all through would be so that I can Rabid Gnaw the blocker they play that they just top decked, if they did top deck a blocker, so that Cruel Claw can get in. Actually, no, I couldn't even do that because this has Vigilance. Yeah, because of the Vigilance, I'm going to have to kill it anyway. Do I have to throw Cruel Claw under the bus? Go to 3 life, dead to 2 swings from Cleric, or I trade it into the Rabbit, and I'm still dead to 3 swings from Cleric. I'm gonna go for the Cruel Claw RNG here. No! They top decked. Man. Just die to the flyer now. Killed one of them. Couldn't kill the other. Season of Loss, 0% win rate in this deck. It is the worst card in our deck. Yep, Menace is lethal. No, it's not, because I already can't block the flyer. It just means I have to block with Cruel Claw, which is frustrating. I have to lose my whole board, no matter how I block. There's no way to not... I guess I could chump there, block this with both, and I only lose one of these two, but then they still have that rabbit, so... Alright. Lose the whole board. Either way. Removal for Cleric. Let's go. You are a mountain. And we're very dead. 6 and 3, it is so close to greatness, but held down by our garbage Season of Loss, the terrible card that can't win a single game of Magic. I guess our hands that had Season of Loss were quite weak otherwise. Maybe the card held too much weight towards our mulligan choices there, and we'd have a better chance on mulls to 6 there. Although, their start was really good. Like, without the Season of Loss, they still had so many rabbits running around and stuff if I just had an average hand. So, I feel like a mulligan to 6 that doesn't have a Season of Loss just gets overwhelmed by all the rabbits anyway in that final game of Magic. But that first loss that we had with Season of Loss probably could have been differently off a mulligan because things just lined up real awkward for it. This one was just like... It was going to be a bad time. We could have had a Season of Loss hand with bad mana and stop their insane curve out. Or we could have had good mana and then had to deal with all the insane rabbits everywhere, and that would have been really hard to do. So, yeah, just some strong opposition today. I think the deck's pretty decent here. Honestly, I think it did a little better than I expected. I mean, having 2 great mythics with Cruel Claw and Season of Loss goes a long way. And that was like the biggest thing going for it. The curve is weird. The idea of having these big piles of 4-drop offspring nonsense is super weird for what is supposed to be like a really aggressive, really low curve archetype. So I don't know how much I recommend this kind of stuff versus if we just had more like assassins and cheap great creatures. The Captain Valiant stuff was kind of goofy as well. Don't know how well that worked, but big fan of our cheap removal, our cheap combat tricks, and our nice aggressive creatures that can curve out well. It's a solid deck idea at the core, but the rares aren't super cohesive with the strat. Cruel Claw is kind of, but the Season of Loss. Like, I guess the main thing is like seeing the lizard deck that we beat for our 6th win. I'm like, that's what you want to be doing with lizards. They had 3 really aggressive, really cheap lizard rares. And I'm like, that's what you want in the deck. So I guess that's the biggest thing missing, right? Is the really aggressive, really cheap lizard rares and uncommons and stuff. We got the 2 geckos, but none of the rares. So, I mean, out of the commons and uncommons, it's pretty ideal. It's not horrible or anything. I don't know. It was a 6-3. Can't complain about a 6-3. Biggest underperformer was Cruel Claw. It was just miserably difficult to actually hit with this card. Just could not break through. But again, the card is still worth it because when you can break through, it is a blowout. If you hit a spell that doesn't matter that much, you don't have to discard a card for it. And if you do, then it's incredible. Like, even in a situation where, imagine you play this turn 3 and it's turn 4, right? You tap out for Teapot Slinger or something, and then you poke your opponent with the Cruel Claw. If you manage to poke your opponent with Cruel Claw and just find a 2-drop, you just discard a 2-drop from your hand to put that one out for free. You're just like slamming so much on the board so cheap. You don't have to specifically hit a high mana value card off of this for it to be really good. If you're just hitting something comparable to what's in your hand, discard the card in your hand that costs the same mana value, and you've essentially just cast another spell for free this turn. You get a lot of tempo that way, and it's really powerful. When it connects, again, being the key point, it almost never connected today, so. Alright. Well, I guess Season of Loss literally lost 0 games of Magic, so I should say that's the biggest underperformer. Literally the 2 Mythics were both the underperformers. Anyways, that's going to do it for today. We grab our 1,800 gems and 5 packs, and that's going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.